Episode 28, Bertha Benz's Journey, Part 1, Coolant. In a house in Mannheim, a man was letting out a sigh loud enough to shake the whole house. That man was none other than Carl Benz. There was a reason Benz was sighing so deeply. After successfully test driving his first automobile in front of local government officials and nobles, Benz had been agonizing for nearly a year over how to prove the practicality of his car. Although it was exhibited at the 1887 Paris Expo and even patented, people saw Benz's Motorwagen as unimpressive and unattractive, giving it the nickname Iron Donkey. Moreover, due to its louder noise compared to steam cars or carriages, people considered it a dangerous means of transportation. As a result, Benz's Motorwagen remained mostly in storage. Like most inventors or engineers, Benz was not confident in his ability to sell. Seeing her husband's indecisiveness, Bertha secretly began planning two things in the summer of 1888 to make his invention practical. First, she wanted to create a sensation to draw the world's attention to her husband's automobile, which had the potential to transform the world. Bertha was very anxious because, despite her husband's passion and determination in building the car, he had yet to find a way to promote it. Second, she planned to visit her mother in Pforzheim using the car. However, her husband never gave her the chance to drive the car through the village. Then an opportunity came to Bertha, who had been waiting for her chance. August 5, 1888, Carl Benz left his home in Mannheim early in the morning to visit an industrial exposition in Munich. As soon as Benz left the house, curiosity filled the eyes of his two sons, Eugen and Richard. Since dawn, they began earnestly pleading with their mother, Bertha. The two children complained that only their father ever got to ride the Motorwagen and begged for a turn themselves. Listening to her children's nagging, Bertha realized this was a great opportunity to use the Motorwagen without telling Benz. She decided to take her children and head to her mother's home in Pforzheim, a trip she had long intended. But getting to her mother's house in Pforzheim was a problem. The distance from Mannheim to Pforzheim was 106 kilometers, and the roads at the time were not paved like today, but rather a chaotic mix of stones, dirt, and water. Traveling these roads at high speed in a regular carriage subjected passengers to bone-jarring impacts, as if they were slammed into the ground. The shocks were so severe that most coachmen of the time suffered from herniated discs. Traveling 106 kilometers over such roads at typical carriage speeds was a tremendous undertaking at the time. And even more so for a 39-year-old woman and two small children, it was virtually impossible. But once Bertha Benz made her decision, she immediately began preparing for the trip. After getting ready, she took her two sons to the garage where the Motorwagen was parked and pushed the unused vehicle out of storage. Then, recalling how Benz had started the Motorwagen, she started the engine, placed her two sons inside, and set off toward Pforzheim. As they left Mannheim and passed through each village, locals fainted at seeing the strange, small iron carriage, which didn't need horses and made a thumping noise like a steam car, yet had no chimney moving on its own. Unlike the smooth-running Motorwagen itself, Bertha and her two sons suffered indignities while riding in it. On even slightly bumpy roads, the hard wooden seat and stiff rubber tires would drive their rear ends into the chair as though they were being nailed into it. Because neither carriages nor early automobiles had cushions, Long journeys were excruciatingly uncomfortable. Yet despite the discomfort, Bertha and her two sons joyfully embarked on the journey, gripping the rod-style steering bar of the Benz Motorwagen. But soon something significant happened. About an hour after leaving Mannheim, Bertha continued driving the Motorwagen. Riding in the vehicle her husband and father had created, Bertha and the two children were profoundly impressed by Benz's ingenuity. They were amazed that, with Benz's engine fitted to such a small carriage, it could achieve speeds comparable to a horse-drawn vehicle. After traveling for some time, Eugen suddenly turned and urgently shouted. His voice was filled with surprise and tension. Bertha listened to her son, quickly turned, and was startled by what she saw. White smoke was rising from the engine at the back of the Motorwagen. Bertha immediately stopped the Motorwagen and walked to the rear. She paused the steaming engine and began investigating the source of the smoke. Bertha soon discovered there was no coolant left in the Motorwagen. At that time, Benz's Motorwagen needed its coolant replenished every hour or so. This was a detail only Benz knew. Bertha had been completely unaware. However, Bertha quickly grasped the situation and responded calmly. She looked around and fortunately spotted a clear stream flowing by the roadside. She looked firmly at Eugen and gave a clear instruction. Eugen obeyed, immediately fetched a container and ran to the stream. Bertha judged that the clear stream water would suffice as coolant and decided to refill it. When Eugen brought the stream water, Bertha refilled the coolant and restarted the engine. The smoke gradually cleared and the Motorwagen's engine began running smoothly again. Once she confirmed the engine was functioning normally, Bertha put her two sons back in and continued the journey. From then on, Bertha realized that coolant needed to be replenished about every hour, so she continued to do so on an hourly basis. Today, coolant is commonly referred to as antifreeze. Literally meaning non-freezing liquid, before antifreeze was invented, coolant would freeze in winter, sometimes preventing cars from operating. Today's antifreeze typically needs replacing every 1 to 2 years. Failure to do so can shorten a vehicle's lifespan.